The love you already are. Have you ever noticed how we spend our lives searching for love in all the wrong places? We look for it in relationships, in achievements, in the approval of others, constantly reaching outward for something that was always meant to be found within. I recently had the profound privilege of interviewing Kaluwa Mccreary, a transformational healer whose wisdom has illuminated paths for countless souls trapped in darkness. Her work transcends conventional therapy. It's a revolution of self reclamation that has helped thousands recognize their inherent worthiness. What struck me most about our conversation wasn't just her brilliant insights, but the revolutionary simplicity of her core message: you are the love you seek. Let that sink in for a moment. You are the love you seek. When Kalua shared this truth, I watched something shift in the room. It was as if the air itself became charged with possibility. Because what if everything we've been taught about love and validation is backward? What if the endless pursuit of external approval has been leading us further from the very thing we're seeking? For Black women, especially, those of us who've spent decades in survival mode, those who've carried families and communities on our backs, this message isn't just powerful, it's revolutionary. We've mastered the art of being strong. We've perfected the superwoman cape. We know how to push through pain, how to make something out of nothing, how to smile when we're breaking inside. But at what cost? Taraji P. Henson knows this cost intimately. This acclaimed actress, who has portrayed some of the strongest women on screen, found herself battling depression and anxiety behind the scenes. In Hollywood, an industry that often overlooks Black women's emotional needs, she faced the double burden of stigma and isolation. I was suffering in silence, she has shared publicly. I thought I had to be strong all the time. I thought seeking help meant I was weak. Sound familiar? How many of us have swallowed our pain because we believe vulnerability was weakness? But here's where Taraji's story takes a turn that Kaluwa Mccreary would recognize as transformative. Instead of continuing to seek validation externally, Taraji turned inward. She sought therapy. She embraced self love as a radical act. And then, this is the beautiful part, she founded the Boris Lawrence Henson Foundation to address mental health in the Black community. Her pain became preparation, her struggle became strength, her healing became a healing force for others. This is exactly what Kaluwa Mccreary means when she says, your pain is not your prison, it's your preparation. Every hardship, every moment of feeling outcast or broken is training for your future triumph. I'll be honest with you. When I first heard this, part of me wanted to roll my eyes. Sounds like one of those Instagram quotes we scroll past while eating ice cream in our pajamas, doesn't it? But there's profound truth here that deserves our attention. Because what if we actually believed this? What if we stopped seeing our trauma as a life sentence and started seeing it as life training? Dr. Thema Bryan embodies this principle beautifully. As a psychologist, minister, and now president of the American Psychological Association, she has transformed her own experiences of trauma and abuse into a powerful platform for healing. What makes Dr. Bryan's work so revolutionary is that she doesn't just talk about healing, she creates culturally relevant pathways to it. She understands that for many Black women, traditional therapeutic approaches don't always resonate with our lived experiences. Healing is not just about surviving. Dr. Bryan often says it's about thriving. It's about reclaiming your joy, your power, and your purpose. This echoes what Kaluwa Mccreary emphasized in our interview. Healing is a journey, not a destination. It requires patience, intentional self care, and the willingness to seek support. It's not about perfection, but about progress and self compassion. And let me tell you something about this journey, it's messy. There are days when you'll feel like you're moving backward, days when old wounds reopen, days when the superwoman cape feels like the only familiar thing to hold on to. But here's what Kalua wants you to remember: those days are part of the journey too. They're not evidence of failure, they're opportunities for deeper healing. I'm reminded of Rachel Kumwenda's story. As the founder of Drone Link in Malawi, Rachel faced systemic gender bias, limited access to capital, and cultural expectations that discourage women from pursuing entrepreneurship. The odds were stacked against her in ways that many of us can relate to. But Rachel's journey began with a profound realization that her own belief in herself had to be stronger than the world's doubt. She had to become the love she was seeking. I stopped waiting for someone to give me permission, Rachel has shared. I stopped waiting for the perfect conditions. I realized that if I wanted to change my reality, I had to first change how I saw myself. Today, DroneLink has mapped over 270 hectares and introduced robotics and coding to a new generation of Malawian women. Rachel's self belief didn't just transform her life, it's transforming her community. This is what happens when we recognize that we are the love we seek. We stop waiting for external validation and start creating from a place of inherent worthiness. We stop asking, am I enough? And start declaring, I am enough. But let's be real for a moment. This isn't easy. We live in a world that profits from our self doubt, a world that has specific and often impossible standards for Black women, a world that wants us to stay in survival mode because our labor, physical and emotional, is valuable to systems that were never designed for our flourishing. Breaking free from this requires more than positive thinking. It requires intentional practice. It requires community. It requires grace. During our interview, Kaluwa Mccreary shared something that stopped me in my tracks. She said sometimes the most revolutionary act is to rest when everyone expects you to run. In a culture that glorifies the grind, that celebrates being booked and busy, that equates worth with productivity, choosing rest is indeed revolutionary, especially for Black women who've been conditioned to believe that our value lies in what we can do for others. This is what the soft girl era is truly about: not a trend or an aesthetic, but a reclamation, a return to softness as strength, a recognition that we deserve joy, peace, and rest, not as rewards for our labor, but as birthrights. Taraji P. Henson, Dr. Thema Bryant, and Rachel Kumwenda, three Black women from different spheres who have all discovered the same truth. Healing begins when we turn towards ourselves with the same love and compassion we so freely gifted to others. Their stories remind us that transformation is possible, that our pain can become purpose, that our struggles can become stepping stones. But it all begins with recognizing that we are the love we seek. So, what does this mean for you? What does it mean to embrace this truth in your daily life? It might mean setting boundaries without apology. It might mean seeking therapy or joining a healing circle. It might mean starting each day with affirmations that remind you of your inherent worth. It might mean forgiving yourself for not being perfect. It might mean releasing relationships that require you to shrink. whatever it looks like for you. Kaluwa Mccreary wants you to know that you don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to begin. Start with one intentional step toward loving yourself. Maybe that's journaling about your worth. Maybe it's looking in the mirror and speaking kindness to your reflection. Maybe it's finally making that therapy appointment you've been putting off. Choose to see your pain as preparation, not punishment. Look back at the hardest chapters of your story and ask, what did this prepare me for? What strength did this build in me? What wisdom did I gain? And remember that healing isn't a destination you arrive at once and for all. It's a journey of small choices, daily practices, moments of courage, and infinite compassion. There's a beautiful quote that says, be patient with yourself. You're growing stronger in the broken places. I think about this often when I consider what Kaluwa Mccreary shared about healing being a journey, not a destination. Those broken places, the heartbreaks, the disappointments, the traumas, both big and small, they're not just wounds. They're where your new strength is forming. They're where your wisdom is taking root. They're where your capacity for compassion for yourself and others is expanding. And yes, this process takes time. In a world of instant everything, healing refuses to be rushed. It unfolds in its own time, in its own way. But with each step, with each act of self love, with each boundary set and honored, you're reclaiming pieces of yourself that were always meant to be yours. Today, I challenge you to walk out of this room and do something radical. Stop looking for love outside yourself. Stop waiting for someone else to validate your worth. Stop postponing your joy until you've achieved some arbitrary milestone. Instead, place your hand on your heart and feel the power that has always resided there. Recognize that you have survived every single hard day you faced. And that is evidence of your strength, not your brokenness. I challenge you to look in the mirror tonight and say, I'm the love I've been seeking. Say it until you believe it. Say it until it becomes the foundation of how you move through the world. Because when we truly embrace this truth, when we stop outsourcing our worth and reclaim our inherent value, we don't just heal ourselves. We become beacons for others. We create spaces where others can lay down their capes. We model what it means to love ourselves fiercely in a world that often tells us we're not enough. This isn't just personal transformation, it's revolution. And it begins with you recognizing that you are and have always been the love you seek. Thank you.